Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to our online Kashmir Cultural Heritage Awareness Series. Today is our 74th series, and our speaker is Professor Tej K. Pandita, Ph.D. on Kashmiri Seeker. We begin with our prayer today by Anjana joining us from Connecticut, USA. Anjana Vijay is a disciple of Vidushi Srimati Kamakshi Kalyansundaram since she was 8 years old. As we know, Srimati Kamakshi Kalyansundaram appeared in our program few times before, and she is a disciple of Padma Bhushan Sangeeta Kalanidhi Madurai T.N. Seshagopal. Anjana has participated in several Carnatic competitions and won prizes. She has been a part of Subramanya Bhujangam, a project of Jagadguru, a YouTube channel under her guru's guidance. She also learns piano from the age of 5. She has won awards in both classical and Western piano solo, including the New England A.A.A.S, which is Accordion Teachers Association of Massachusetts Music Festival at Boston. We are pleased to now welcome Anjana. Yes, Anjana.
Namaskaram, Periva Charanam. Shri Bahi Mamye Kamresh Naike
Thank you, Anjana. It was very nice, and thanks for joining on a Saturday morning for you. We would like to see you again in our program sometime in the near future. Thank you. We thank Sri Kanchi Mutt for our ongoing Kashmir initiative and offer our namaskarams to His Holiness Sri Shankara Vijayendra Saraswathi Swamigal. Kanchi Mutt has always been in the forefront, modestly working with the sole aim of national integration, spiritual enlightenment, and preserving the uniqueness of Kashmir, as Kashmir is our cultural heritage. We are now very pleased to welcome Sri Tej Pandita, Professor Tej Pandita, Ph.D., with this brief introduction. Dr. Pandita earned his Ph.D. from Panjab University in 1980. He held faculty appointments at Columbia University in New York, Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, where he was a fully tenured associate professor. The University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas, fully tenured professor, and scientific director of the Radiation Oncology Department of the Houston Methodist Research Institute, and professor of Cell and Development Biology in Radiation Oncology, Weill Cornell Medical College, New York, USA, during 2014 and 2019, where he directed a research program focusing on DNA repair and radiotherapy. He serves on multiple editorial boards and a chartered member of the NIH, National Institute of Health Study sections. His research employs both genetic and biological approaches to study the relationship between DNA sequence, chromatin structure, and sensitivity to ionizing radiation. We are very pleased to have you, sir, and look forward to your presentation today. And our local Tamil newspapers published an article about your program today, and they translated your title saying, that is in Kashmiri Pandit Sikha, they said, searching Kashmiri Pandits. They translated it differently, but it conveys the same meaning. Anyhow, thank you for a nice topic like that, and it'll be very interesting to hear a presentation today.
Namaste to all of you. So let me get started. And if I display my first slide.
Yeah, 1 second, I'll connect it here.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir, for introducing me and telling what I have been busy with. And I'm really fortunate to get a chance to share a little bit of my respect for my mother country, India, my birthplace, Jammu and Kashmir, specifically place I was born, Kashmir, in a village, Muran, about 22 miles from Srinagar. So I'm going to tell you my own story, and I'm going to tell that how much I'm attached, not only emotionally, something which I'm trying to seek, explore, and find a way to be humble so that what we have by chance misunderstood, we gain it back. So a Kashmiri is basically a noun, and it is a singular, plural. Particularly in Sanskrit, we have ekvachan, duvachan, bhavachan. So in the Kashmiri, also basically is much more close to to Sanskrit. And it is adjectives relating to Kashmir or its people or their language. So as I said, it is going to be my own story, and I'm a Pandit. Whether it is by chance or by nature, my last name, family name is Pandita. Anyway, I take it as a Pandit who was born on the fourth pada of Mula Nakshatra, Dvadeshi Shravan Krishna Paksha. What is the fourth pada of Mula Nakshatra? I want to tell you here a story before I go further, that my father was having a small business in a village called as Muran. And my mom was in her pregnancy, and he had gone, my dad had gone out for some business purposes. In the meantime, my mother started labor pain. And there used to be at that time a local nurse. She tried for one day. My father is not coming back. They are getting panicky. Now it is second day, and then there is a called a periods in our Hindu philosophy, that if a person is born on that dasha called the Mula dasha, it is really fatal. And what had happened was, there was a neighbor. She gave birth to a child and she died. And I was coming up, maybe I'll be fatal to my mom or dad. Anyhow, some people came, my relatives came, they managed to bring my mom from village to Srinagar, where there used to be a hospital. And Gabriel was the lady doctor that. Anyhow, while bringing my mom to Srinagar, in between they saw my dad coming out of a bus, and they stopped the vehicle. He boarded, he came with my mom to hospital. And Dr. Gabriel knew my dad very well, because he was in a pharmaceutical business and was well respected in the field. So she told Sri Pandit, do you want a child or do you want a mom? My father was very, very clear. He said, if child does not have a mom, what child will be the fate of the child? He said, okay. She started as soon as she started doing a cesarean, I came out. She did not need to have cesarean, but I was not breathing for 5 minutes. Then something, my dad, since she told her, can I enter into operation theater? He said, okay, you can come because you know it. They say that my dad puts hand on my body and I start breathing. So that is how this Pandit is born on fourth pada Mula Nakshatra. Is the fourth part of this thing. And what is the fourth part of this Mula Nakshatra? It follows the Cancer Navamsa and is ruled by the moon. And people born in this pada have a spiritual, philosophical way of taking care of others. It is in the literature. It is not I'm writing. Now, when I go back and see what it means of what I have done, is sometimes destined. And we are just some toys in the hands of that big, big power, which we now try to understand. And the nakshatra is the term for lunar mansion in Hindu astrology and in Indian astronomy. So Mula Nakshatra or a Mula Nakshatra, it is pronounced in two ways, meaning the same, is considered as a malefic nakshatra. As I told you, that any born in the Mula was, see how scientific, how accurate it was, that there are 4 parts. If a person is born in the first part, his mom or dad, something happens in the family. The 4th part is not that bad, but it brings misfortune to the family. It is a malefic, and at that time, my father's sister came to my dad and told, I want to adopt him because it is not going to be good for family. My father was very clear. He said, whatever he is my child. If he brings me misfortune, that's my fortune. So he somehow resented. Everybody said my father is not correct, but my mother also followed what my dad used to say. They had a good coordination. So now this, it is all four quarters are placed in the sign Sagittarius, and more you can learn now from the Google about Sagittarius. People believe that a native of this will bring problems to family and himself, to his or her family. Now, starting a life with that, and parents knowing about that, and it gives something. Then what mula is basically, it is a bunch of roots tied together, and the god of dissolution and destruction. The ascendant lagna in mula indicates a person who has a passionate desire to get to the truth and is good at investigation and research. I think that is what I'm doing now. They are direct, ardent, truthful, shrewd, ambitious, but they can feel trapped, bound by circumstances, and so feel resentment and a sense of betrayal. They can also suffer extreme reversals of fortune that may involve pain and cruelty. Here the story starts. So Muladhara, Mula means root, Adhara means base. The Muladhara chakra has 4 petals bearing the Sanskrit letters Va, Sha, Sha, Sa. The center syllable is Lam. The 4th chakra, called Anahita, is located at the heart. Now, what organs are in Muladhara? This region of Muladhara chakra represents the pelvic organ. We call it a nerve-based complex in biological terms, but it is just a refractory. If you read carefully our literature, a lot of science is there. And hence, regarding location of Muladhara chakra, it may be mid-perineum area. Now, the 4-petaled lotus, the root chakra signifies the birth of human consciousness. The 4 petals of the root chakra lotus symbolize 4 aspects of consciousness. Again, repeating, what are those? Manas is mind, Buddhi is intellect, Chitta is consciousness, Ahamkara is ego. So, I feel really privileged. I feel really fortunate that I am born in this wonderful country. See different varieties. A garden, if a garden has got only one type of flower, you get frustrated. But if it has got roses with different colors, this is why I feel fortunate. We have different cultures, we have different languages, we have got different approaches. And on top of that, you can see on the map is this Kashmir, which I told now. I was born, and this is the strategy of Kashmir, different these rivers, streams, gardens, and this is the area called as a Pulwama, where it was very rich. There were a lot of Kashmiri Pandits living there before Exodus, and this Pulwama has got a village called as a Muran, and where I was born. I was born Muran, but my dad will always say, no, you were born in Srinagar, even though you were from Muran. So we used to have fun on that issue. So recently, I have 2 daughters, and they're born in USA. And we're always talking about our heritage. We're talking about from where we are. And finally, last year in November, we decided to visit Kashmir. The first thing we wanted to go the place, and they were very curious to know what is the place you were born. I told him it's a Muran, and here on this side is a spring, and on back of this is a temple called as a Brahri Moj, and you can see on the back of this one, and here you can see 3 people. On the left side is our school teacher. His name is Sri Badrinath. He still stays in Muran. He's 86-year-old. He takes care of the temple. When we reached there, he was so happy. And now this is the temple in that Brahri Moj. He still maintains that. And now here they are making some construction to make some guest house. And this is the Muran, this is the area here was our house, and in front of was a shopping complex where my dad was doing business. This is gone. This is now a some shopping complex, and you can see different names. And this was a house of my uncle on the back of very good house. Is in totally in destroyed condition. Here is a house in Jawaharlal where my wife was born and lived, and now that house has been reconstructed, and we visited that, and it's totally a different house now. So what a Pandit is a Hindu scholar. It is nothing, for which we have to put too much effort. We simply have to be seekers. Is a Pandit scholar in Sanskrit and in Hindu philosophy, religion, typically also a practicing priest. We used to call in Kashmiri them Gurujis. They will come on birthdays or marriages and they will chant the mantras. And basically they were scholars. Pandit chants the marriage mantras. A wise man or a teacher. We have a wise man like Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya from Banaras University. A talented musicians are called as Pandits. A Pandit used a respectful title or a form of address. What is Pandit is not always a seeker. And what is seeker is not always a Pandit. This I'm struggling to understand it. And I will share my little experience with you. So in Sanskrit, Pandit generally refers to any wise, educated, or learned man with specialized knowledge. The term is derived from Pand. My sincere apologies. My pronunciation can be, not accurate, but I will try my level best what I can do. It is Pand, which means to collect, heap, pile up, and this root is used in the sense of knowledge. The term is found in Vedic and post-Vedic texts, but without any sociological context. That is what our Bhagavad Gita also. It has no barriers, it has no sociological context. Now, I'm giving two examples of our great Pandits, like Pandit Lakshmanju, a scholar of Kashmiri Shaivism, and Pandit Jashraj Ji, classical vocalist. There are other Pandits also. I'm just giving you two examples of which we are very much familiar and who have achieved a lot to improve the spiritual sense of our community. So a seeker, as I said, I'm a seeker who always wants to know more to the point where mind becomes restless, who searches for something or tries to find or obtain something. Are we materialistic, searching for something or something? That is a part of life. So, who are seekers in spirituality? Spiritual seekers are those who follow a path of self-discovery. Being a seeker might be a lifelong journey. It is not a one-day game. That's what, it's a great book, Bhagavad Gita. It says it's a dynamic, life is a dynamic process and you have to adopt to that change with some good understanding. So, being a seeker might be a lifelong journey or one that occurs as a result of life-changing event, such as trauma. Don't take trauma in a very bad sense. Trauma can be in a very good sense too. This Lakshmanju, Sri Lakshmanju, was born in Kashmir, 1907, and was a mystic and a scholar of Kashmiri Shaivism. We used to call, I still remember my aunt was she used to frequently go and visit his ashram. Sometimes she will take my mom too, and a couple of occasions, I was a very young kid, I was also got a chance because there was a car and, to get a ride in that time in that car was a kind of a privilege. And when we go there, and this Swamiji will give us some sweet or other things. So we are tempted for sweets. We didn't understand what great person, scholar he is. So Kashmir, and they used to call him with love, Lalsam, a friend of God, and a very, very sharp person. And the Kashmiri Shaivism or Trika Shaivism is a non-dualistic Hindu tradition of Shiva, Shakti, Tantra, which originated in Kashmir sometimes in 850 CE. Since the tradition originated in Kashmir, is often called Kashmiri Shaivism. They say why it is called as Kashmiri Shaivism. It is not kind of a pattern or anything, but it originated there. And in Hinduism, there is no patent. There is nothing that it belongs to them. It is a universal. So that is the beauty about something of which we may have to put an effort to make everybody realize how important it is to understand ourselves. So reason for being a seeker, what does it mean to be a God seeker? Actively praises God for the previous work in their lives, chase after what person wants next for them, and seek to do it in a way that glorifies them. Seeking God is the believer's priority. We seek God above everything else. And when we do, work will naturally be done in and through our lives. I'm sure you might have also experienced this thing. And I have experienced it. What is a seeker relationship? Is it sensational seeking or relationships? And what are the functions of a seeker? The function of a seeker is to seek of the truth and act upon it, abolish ignorance, and vanquish some evil. I think that is what Lord Krishna in all those 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, if I understand, and my apologies, you may be knowing much better than me, tries to convey to all of us. What do spiritual seekers want, basically? Spiritual seekers have the opportunity to change themselves as well as the world. We have a typical example like Sadhguru. We have example like Swami Vivekananda. We have example of our present Prime Minister of India, Shri Modi ji. These are the who are with this, what they are doing for the world. Spiritual seekers are those who follow the path of self-discovery. The path can be a lifelong path or one sought as a result of life-changing event, such as I told as a trauma. Don't take trauma in a bad way. Seeker is someone who always wants to know more. I'm repeating it again. To the point where their mind becomes restless. If you are a seeker, you are not just curious, you are defined by your curiosity. Seeking is not just about observing and gaining knowledge, it is about exploring the world. What are the powers of the seeker? Seeker is to seek out the truth and act upon it, usually amounting to a quest to abolish ignorance and vanquish some evil. What a great book, Bhagavad Gita. What is the difference between seeker and believer now? Why Gita has become so popular and so this thing? Because Gita teaches you to be seeker. Never says you believe it. Belief comes automatically once you learn, and a seeker wonders, observes, interprets, questions, and always has an eternal way of understanding. Believer just believe. They have a fixed path, similar answers, and no quest for themselves. And you know what happens when believer tries to execute something. So this is the difference, I think. This is not the difference, but this is an understanding what a seeker does and what a believer does. So what is the life of spiritual seeker? The life of a spiritual seeker consists of his or her everyday sadhana, upasana, practices. That is what Kashmiri Pandits used to do. Through these processes, the spiritual practitioner is seeking answer on various topics such as life, God, mysteries of the universe, and so on. Here I am going to quote a 4-sentence kind of a poem. She spoke this thing. Her name was Lal Ded. And when she used to say something, they used to call it a lullaby. I will try to sing what she said about 700 years back. Goran vannam kunai vatsun, nebr dopnam andar atsun, sui go lalime vakte vatsun, tavai mehut tum nangai nasun. Telling you honestly, I don't have exactly words to translate. I tried to explain my friends. And what I could say is what it means basically in English. Look deep inside, and then you will understand everything better. The most beautiful experience one can have is the mysterious. Solitude of a quiet life stimulates the creative mind. She was not educated. She was a lady. And then they say when she was so good that, and there was a kind of a turmoil that Hindu-Muslim, and with those lullabies, she tried to bring the people together and got a summer peace. And then she was respected by Hindus certainly as Lalda and Muslim as Laleshwari. And Lalwak is basically also, they say, some they said she was born though Hindu, certainly, but she was above the religion. She was a goddess for both Hindus as well as other religions too. Now, for being a seeker, certainly, if I had to get Ph.D, I had to go first to school, lower school, high school, college, university, then research. Same is, we have a very good system in our cultural history of which we are taking advantage, but not fully. We should take what I like, what Sadhguru is trying to do, what other practitioners are trying to do, to focus on ourselves. And focusing on ourselves, here comes another story that we were several siblings, and I was the only sibling who was trailing behind studies. Means I was not getting, my siblings will get 80, 90% marks and engineering. It was easy for them. For me, I was struggling because I was not reading. So I have a brother who was a professor, and he saw my mother very, very upset when my 12th grade results came out. And my mother was also genuinely concerned. She said, we are people who, your dad is doing business, but you don't want to do business. You want to have a government job, to be a doctor, engineer, like that, or a professor. So he couldn't tolerate to see my mother in that kind of tension. So he's elder to me by, he might be hearing, he's elder to me by 14 years, but treated me like a son. I have never asked anything to my dad, even though he was reasonably having money, good money, but anything I needed was my baya. And I was attached to my sister-in-law, my Babiji. So he comes with a book, Rousing Call to the Hindu Nation. These are the lectures of Swami Vivekananda, and brings me in his room. And my Babiji is sitting there too, and he says to me, if you read this book, and I will ask you only 2 or 3 questions. If you answer those questions, I was that time a very young boy, and I was fascinated with the shirts of Rajesh Khanna. And he somehow corrupted me. He told me, I'm going to Delhi for a meeting, and I'll get you 2 Rajesh Khanna shirts of pure choice, color choice. And he gave 200 rupees. And if you read this book, and if you qualify, answer my questions, you will get the shirt, plus you will get this money. So my sister-in-law had a lot of sympathy with me. She said, okay, stop it. He will get unnecessarily nervous. She just winked the eye. She told me, I'll give you 200 rupees. Get you shirts also. Just be relaxed. But I was tempted. I said, I took the book. I went in my room. I did not come out of the room for next 2 days till I completed 121 pages. I still can remember some paragraphs on what pages. So I was given 3 weeks time to read this book, and then he will take my test. And because he will come back by that time from the meeting. So I went at my brother, I said, take my test. He said, I think you will not qualify. My sister-in-law winked him and said, let him appear the test and, don't demoralize him. So he said, what you learn from this book? I said, what I learned is the yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. That's what Swami Vivekananda is discussing in his lectures for universal consciousness. Then can you spell the renunciation? Anyhow, my sister-in-law pushes him aside. She asks me, gives me the money, tells him, don't get only to get him 4 shirts. Anyway, making long story short, he goes to my mom, tells, hey, he's not a dumb guy, but it's just a matter of interest. Same is that we have enormous things in our culture. We have to generate some interest in our young generation. We have to see them how beautiful is Kashmir. It is not that things are always bad. They do. Suppose there is a day when it rains heavily. You can't go out that time. Then there is a sunny day also. We have to learn how to make the shelters when there is a rainy season. We have to take a best use when there is a sunny day. So learning from that, and he goes to my mom, and I used to be fond of horse riding and a lot of hiking I used to do. He said, you continue to do that, but you make it a point you will read 2 to 3 hours. I was lucky that my sister-in-law will sit with me, and I did get a first division subsequently. Everything went well. But I think there's something embedded which we have to make conscious our young generation, that everything's within you. And you just follow these yama, niyama, pratyahara, pranayama. You don't have to remember it. Just do a practice of this thing. Suppose you are reading something. If you don't understand, just try to go with that in a sleep. You will get the answers. So there are 5 yamas, just hamsa, satya, asatya. These things are available. I just wanted to share with you that how much we have got in the literature, which is useful for our spiritual upliftment as well as the material comfort. I like what Swami Vivekananda said, that I cannot teach spirituality to the people whose belly is empty. I had to fill his belly first. Same is with Sadhguru. I like what he says, that you have to be physically fit that you can do anything good. So it is better to take care of both things in a balanced way. Now there are 5 niyamas, and subsequently sittings are one of the things. When I remember in Kashmir that when we used to sit for food, we used to have proper posture, and then there is the sheet. Then we will divide our food. A part of food will keep separately for birds. And we were environmentally conscious at that time when environmental issue was not a topic. So then we used to sit in Padmasana or Virasana, and the idea is to be able to sit in comfort so we are not pulled by aches or pains of the body or restlessness due to an uncomfortable position. Now, pranayama, you all know it, can be understood as either pranayama, which would mean breath control or breath restraint, or it could be understood as pranayama, which would translate as freedom of breath, breath expansion, or breath liberation. And pratyahara, which is a sense of withdrawal. Drawing inward may include focusing on the way we are breathing, and dharana is focused concentration, and dhyana is a meditative absorption. When we become completely absorbed in the focus of our meditation. That may be in a research. I've seen when I was doing my research, when I was doing an experiment, sometimes I will forget whole world. Till then, I'll just focus on till I get the, when the results will come, it will somehow elevate my soul. And this is when we are really meditating. If you are really meditating, you won't have the thought then. This is something which Lord Krishna tries to convey in Bhagavad Gita. Now, samadhi is a bliss, is an enlightenment. Breaking the word of samadhi, breaking the word in half, how careful our literature is, we see that this final stage is made up of two words, sama, meaning same or equal, di, meaning to see. If we go other way, aham brahmasmi. And in Hindi, when we say life partner, ardhagni, better half. And if you are in that blissful samadhi, there is a reason it is called realization. And it is because reaching samadhi is not about escapism, floating away, or being abundantly joyful. It is about realizing the story life that lies in front of you. That is the samadhi. Now, again, every golden coin has a silver lining too. Some people understand something some way, some people understand Gita some way, something, and in a nutshell, I can say, any intelligent fool can make things bigger and more complex to move in the wrong direction. And it takes a touch of genius. Now we have seen in the last 8 years. It takes a touch of a genius and a lot of courage to move in the right direction. The only source of knowledge, which we call as a gyan, is experience. Unless you experience, the knowledge stays limited. Those who follow the crowd will usually go on further than the crowd. They will go further than the crowd. But those who walk alone are likely to find in places no one has ever been before. You have a mathematician born in South, Ramanujan. When he was told, how you get this equation solved? He was so much extremely intelligent. He couldn't tell, he will tell them, okay, God is telling me this thing. And then they said, what the God means? He gives explanation. When he gave the explanation, they became a forest that time. But unfortunately, he did not live long. But what he gave to the world, black holes, so many things, this is the power of that. Those who walk alone are likely to find a place no one has ever been before. So finally, a Pandit seeker in spirituality, there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle. But finally, what the aim is, speak to everyone in the same way, whether he, she is the garbage person or the king of the country. That is all what ultimately matters. Be humble with spiritual awareness. So here I want to finally end up with our visit to Kashmir. I have two daughters, and they're born in USA. And we were trying to go to Kashmir because of the reasons we all know, could not go. But last year in November we went. The first thing we went was Srinagar. We went first. They want to see the Gulmarg, and here is we are in the Gulmarg, and it is snow, and they were so excited to see the silky texture of the snow of Kashmir. Then they have also spiritual mind, and they said, "Dad, is it a spiritual snow here?" I said, "Whatever it is." I said, "We have never seen in the snow because we had lived in East Coast in America. There is snow is like a salt layer." Anyway, Then after that, there's a temple in Gulmarg, and we went to Gulmarg. They had some puja. After Gulmarg, we went another temple. Martin is here, and here is, as I told, we went to Muran, my village, where we met our teacher. Is 86, 87. Then I went where I did my MSc, Kashmir University. You can see on the botany department is the back, and then I have some students there. They invited me. They came to USA and they asked me to give a talk, and I gave a talk to them. Then we went to Kir Bhavani. We had the puja there, and we went to Sonamarg. We met Kashmiri Pandit in Sonmarg, who is the manager of a very five-star hotel, and he was very saprusab, very, very generous, and had made a Kashmiri style food. Then and his boss is my friend. He's a Kashmiri. His name is Koyum Gandarbali. Koyum is the son of Kadir Gandarbali, whose father was the IGP of Kashmir, who I heard was the person who arrested Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed in 53, when we both were born. We were very close friends. And he took us to his home. Here is his wife. Here is his wife. And we had a good sharing. And what he told me was something surprising. He said, "You left us and we want back heaven. And I'm looking for the time, Tej, we all will spend good time together." So with this, we went there, Shankaracharya. You can see my daughters, they have all religious mind. They went for puja, everything. And finally, we had this, my friend Kadir, his family wanted to meet us. They invited us their home. He has a daughter and a son. His daughter is a spiritual. She, lot of Shaivism and other things, and she's a professor at the Kashmir University. His son wanted to become like his grandfather. He's the DIG, and we had a good time in Srinagar with them. And then we were very lucky to have a wonderful driver who was with us for 2 weeks. His name is Ali, and he will sing some bhajana sometimes. It was very good, and he took us all good place. And with this, I will chant my little mantra which I have been doing. Karpur Gauram Karunavataram Sansar Saram Vijayendra Haram Sadar Vasantram Hadiyar Vinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami. Again, thank you, sir, for giving me a chance to share my experience with you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Pandita. It was a very interesting journey that you covered everything from your birth, Nakshatram, onwards, and I could see how much you miss Kashmir.
Absolutely.
You touched upon every part of that. And like you mentioned, passionate desire to get the truth is good at investigative research. I think that came true finally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't say a couple of things, my own spiritual experience. I don't link it with the spirituality, but I say it's experience that I think I know. There were times in life that we were doing an MSc and something happened. The whole class was rusticated. And I thought, okay, this is the end of my education now. Finally, we did appear for education. And then I was not sure that whether I will get the marks enough to get into my PhD. So I went to my village. I'm sitting in a room and I'm seeing that 720 number. And I said, what is the 17 number? For 2 hours, from 10 a.m. to 12. Then after some time, there's a banging bell rang up and I got up and I saw my brother and my sister having a gazette. There used to be a gazette, a newspaper. And he said, hey, your results are out and you have topped. And the marks were exactly 720. So I think we are blissful that we just need to put a little more effort. And Kashmir, I am sure that it is going to enlighten whole universe. And India is proud of having Kashmir. It is a place of saints. whether from what religion. My grandfather's close friend was Mahjur, a very good poet. Mahjur, you may not, is a very, very good poet. And I have my own experience that we should just put every efforts to resolve and dissolve some. There is maybe some ignorance, and I'm sure very soon all of us will enjoy visiting and staying in Kashmir.
I think that's one of the slides now. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle.
Absolutely. That's why I put that. Yes. Yes.
There is one more point you touched upon. It's not that things are always bad. Are you referring to the current events in Kashmir?
You see, as Bhagavad Gita says, that things are changing. Sometimes what you think is bad, if it's not carefully analyzed, it can be bad. But if it carefully, it can be turned into a good thing. For having a good thing, bad thing is equally important. So now we learned what happened. So I think what is currently happening and what is what I saw in those 2 weeks, I'm not authority, I'm not an administrator. I'm a simple geneticist. But I think we have very good genes there. And we need to protect them. We need to elevate them. We need to bring them to levels so that they will merge in that universal consciousness. And we will make an attempt to remove that duality. Once we remove the duality, I think we have conquered the game.
That's where I think the DNA research is coming into play, right?
I'm going to send you that PDF. I'm going to send you that PDF. And that paper, actually, one of the authors is from Banaras University. I think he has died. And the work was started by him when he was in the UK. And I have the paper. It is on my old computer, but I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Anyway, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. So you're happy that things are changing, and one day Kashmiri Pandit community will come and live in Kashmir, like the rest of us live in India. It
is a reality. It is not a dream anymore now. It used to be a dream maybe 20 sometime back. It is a reality. It is taking a little time. Everything, when you sow a seed, it becomes a plant-led, then grows, then after some time gives fruits. The seeds have been grown. They are being protected. And we have to be optimistic. And we have to put our effort as well. We can't say, okay, you did, and it is your duty now to take care of. We have to take care of ourselves too. We have to participate. We have to come forth. Okay, I met there in a hotel a girl, and very fluent in English, but her typical pronunciation was from extreme village. I said, what you have done? She said, uncle, she started, uncle, I'm a B.Tech from IIT or something. I said, what are you doing in this hotel? He said, I just qualified my A.A.S. Here I get the opportunity. I have to work only 4 hours, and then I get most of the time to read. And then I said, then if you qualify the A.A.S, I said, no, uncle, I have an aim to qualify I.A.S. I want to get rid of this confusion. He is Hindu, he is Muslim. I want to be a universal human being. And this is a good step. And it wasn't only one girl. I met some people at other hotels also. So I think it is growing there, and we have to participate in this game. We cannot say that, okay, you play, we want to enjoy the game. No, if we have to enjoy the game, we have to learn to play the game also. So this is my and
you summed it up well. It takes touch of a genius and a lot of courage to move in the right direction. I think we are. So let's hope.
Sure. Our hope will be fulfilled. Where there is a will, there is a way.
Thank you, Professor Pandita. It was nice having you with us, and look forward to seeing you again. Maybe you can shed more on DNA and talk about a little bit how it's going to help us.
I told you yesterday about the story about this. There is a lot of information embedded in our literature, which is clearly on the genetic basis. And I'm, when next time I'm going to give those pictures and examples how our this we say sixth sense and how those genes are there and why the crows can sense somebody's dying, dogs can bark, but we as a human being, we had genes, right? We'll talk about that. And
Sure, we'll do that next time.
I'm blessed that I got an opportunity to talk to you and to share some little information which has gathered in me. So with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
See
you.
you again.
Namaste.
Namaste ji. Thank you, viewers. As you would have noticed, we now meet fortnightly. That is, we have 2 series per month instead of 4. We have a long list of speakers, and we want to continue this. So we don't want to exhaust everything, and we would like to see you twice a week in future, and that will be announced through other channels. We want to thank Kanchi channels, YouTube and Facebook, and also Kamakoti.tv. And we thank VDSP for all their streaming support. And finally, Dinamalar. I want to thank Dinamalar for doing a wonderful translation of the topic. I found today that the whole thing is available in English also. So we look forward to seeing you again. Our next program will be in 2 weeks' time. And as always, we have great speakers joining us, and that will be announced soon. Till we meet again, Jai Jai Shankara, Hare Hare Shankara.